This video lesson is about solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Okay, so this is brand new. We haven't learned anything about this. Again, it is completing the square. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so first of all, let's remember that our standard quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. Now, when we complete the square, the equation is going to look like this. All right. We have ax squared plus bx plus half of b squared equals c plus half of b squared. Okay. Let me show you in some steps what that looks like on the next slide. Okay. So here is our standard ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay. The first thing when completing the square is that you have to put it in the format of ax squared plus bx equals c. So here's what I mean. We're going to take the ax squared plus bx, okay, and then we're going to take the c, and we're going to write our equation to where it says ax squared plus bx equals c. That's the first step, all right? So regardless of how it originally is given to you, you need to write it in ax squared plus bx equals c. Now, if the c has to be moved over, remember that it has to change the sign. Or if the bx was over on the right side and you move it to the left, it has to change signs, okay? So we write it in this format. Then, okay, we are going to add half of b squared to both sides. So here's what that's going to look like. So again, I'm going to take the ax squared plus bx and the c. I'm going to separate them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to both sides of the equation half of b squared. Okay. Now half of b, again, if b was 4, then we would just add 2 squared. Okay. If b was 10, we'd take half of 10, which is 5, and square it. I've written it out as this fraction, b divided by 2. It just means half of b squared. Okay. This is the way we're going to write our equation, and then we're going to solve it. All right, so let's take a look at some examples where we are solving it. So in this example, it says x squared plus 2 equals 8x. All right, we need to put this in the form x squared plus x equals c, or ax squared plus bx equals c. So what we need to do is we're going to need to take the 8x and move it over to this side of the equal sign. And we're going to need to take the plus 2 and move it over to this side of the equal sign. So then our new equation is going to look like this. X squared, and then the positive 8x comes over as a negative 8x. So minus 8x equals, and then the plus 2 comes over as a negative 2. All right, negative 2. Now we're set, okay? We have it in the order that we need, okay? Now we're going to add half of b squared to both sides. We're going to find half of b, and then we're going to square it and add that to both sides. So here's what that looks like, okay? So x squared minus 8x, and then I'm going to leave some room, equals, and then negative 2. Okay, so we're adding half of b, so negative 8 divided by 2. Now, you don't have to write out this step. I'm just showing you that it's negative 8 divided by 2, and of course, we're going to need to square that. That's how we complete the square. All right. Now, I had to make one just slight little change. I had to put the plus sign here. I had forgotten that. So again, we're adding half of b squared to both sides. All right. Now notice that this negative 8 divided by 2 is actually a negative 4 squared. So let me go ahead and write that out that way. So it's x squared minus 8x plus, and then in parentheses, a negative 4 squared equals negative 2 plus, and then in parentheses, a negative 4 squared. All right. These parentheses tell you that you need to actually square negative 4. So that's negative 4 times negative 4. All right. And when you do square a negative 4, you get a positive 16. All right. So again, I'll continue working the equation. X squared minus 8x, and again, that became plus 16 equals negative 2 plus 16. Now, I know this is a lot of steps, and you don't have to actually necessarily show them all out, but because we completed the square here, x squared minus 8x plus 16, then this will factor, okay, it's a square. That means the factors are the same. And the factors are a and the c here. So we have an x squared minus 4. All right, so we're factoring this side as x minus 4 squared equals, and then on the right side we have negative 2 plus 16, which is 14. Okay, so what we did in that step is that because we completed the square, we now know that the factors of this is x minus 4 times x minus 4. So I've written that out as x minus 4 squared equals 14. Now you should know from the last lesson that if we're trying to solve for x and it is being squared, we take the square root. So if we take the square root of the left side, we also take the square root of the right side. And remember, this is going to be the positive or negative square root of 14. So what we have left here is x minus 4 equals positive or negative square root of 14. Okay, so now we have this equation, x minus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 14. We're trying to solve for x. All right, so the best way to explain this one then is that we're just going to take this minus 4 and we're going to move it over here as a positive 4. All right, that's another way of saying we add 4 to both sides. Okay, notice that this negative 4 comes over as a positive 4, but let's go ahead and write it out like that. All right, what I'm going to write is I'm just going to write x equals, and then I'm going to bring the negative 4 over as a positive 4, and then it's plus or minus the square root of 14. Okay, and this is your two answers. Okay, we could write it out separately like this. We could say that x equals 4 plus the square root of 14, and x equals 4 minus the square root of 14. Okay? All right, I know that was a long example, but hopefully that helps you understand how to complete the square in solving quadratic equations.